Introducing the African Diaspora News Channel app, your gateway to stories that's overlooked by the corporate mainstream media.
And we serve as the voice to the global Black community.
Again, we got Dr. Candace Matthews.
A lot of these documents, looking at.
This country is supposed to be about the land of the free for all. It has not been free for Black people, and we are tired.
With our platform, we're helping to end injustice by exposing it.
Join us in standing for excellence in journalism and serving our community. Download the African Diaspora News app today.
Peace, family. My name is Vicki Dillard for African Diaspora News Channel. Thank you so much for tuning in, family. Now, we need not belabor the point of how Trump has openly disrespected and continuously disrespected multiple African nations. Yes, publicly, online, in press conferences, and punishing them using economic sanctions. For example, by punishing them with the threats of removing the AGOA and increased tariffs. Yes, but with that being said, because of that, family, because of that anti-African disposition that he's had, and he's been known for that even in his previous administration, ask yourself this question. How many of you all heard about this? That Trump is holding an emergency 911 meeting with only 5 African countries next week. Now, let me say this before I start reading. They had already planned on having an African summit at the end, in the fall, around September, I believe, even though no real details have come out about that. So what in the world is really going on? Watch this. I'm going to read to you a little bit from this piece, a headline, why Trump invited only 5 West African countries to his summit. This is actually from North Africa Post. It says here that President Donald Trump is hosting a high-level Africa summit in Washington, D.C. with just 5 invited countries: Gabon, Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Mauritania, and Senegal. Yes? It goes on. The decision to limit participation reflects a strategic realignment. Listen to that word, strategic realignment. Whenever the powers that shouldn't be, you'll start using so-called big words or words that have to do with geopolitics. Honey, they just trying to tell you that they scheming. That's just, some of y'all don't want to use those kinds of words because they don't want to throw the average person off. That's what that means. They scheming and plotting. That's what that means. You understand? Reflects a strategic realignment in U.S. foreign policy toward Africa. Listen, emphasizing commercial diplomacy and targeted partnerships. According to U.S. officials, the summit is part of a broader pivot away from traditional aid programs toward trade, investment, and infrastructure cooperation. Now, they're only talking about infrastructure cooperation because of China's Belt and Road Initiative, where they got much of the world. And actually, some folks don't even understand that China's Belt and Road Initiative, which folks are only complaining whenever they talk about what they're doing in Africa. The Belt and Road initiatives include multiple continents, not countries, not just countries, continents, including some of the European countries, and some of the European countries backed out under pressure from other Western allies because they don't want to give China the heads up. I just wanted to say that real quick. It says Trump's advisors described the event as a platform for, quote, deals, jobs, and building things that last, with a focus on energy, y'all listening, critical minerals, and private sector engagement. Now, how many of you all know that they need Africa's critical minerals, and they've been shut out in so many other countries? They're having difficulty staying in Africa under the guise of special aid and terrorism, that you're helping them to fight terrorism. Africa said, get out. And all of a sudden, the terrorism is decreasing and the countries are making more money, them in the West and all the rest. Yes? Not only that, listen to what it says. It says deals and jobs. Do you all know that that means that American corporations and companies are the ones that's behind this? They're wanting these transnational companies and transnational bankers, as it were, to make all the money. Now, let me tell you what's behind this. In addition to what I just said, fighting China, fighting these other things, staying in these African countries, as they say, strategic. Don't forget, some of these very West African countries, as I just mentioned just now, are strategically located, family. Don't forget, that's very important to the United States. But not only that, when I told you the things that they're emphasizing, that has everything to do with American countries, so companies, corporations that want to go there and make a whole lot of money. And so they use our government and military to do the dirty work for these little corporations. Now, let me tell you how I know that further. Y'all listening? Look at this headline from Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. It says how a U.S.-Africa business summit could launch a new era of U.S.-Africa relations. This article came out around the same time that Trump made the announcement. Well, Vicki, who in the world is the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace? Come real close to the camera. They're a more than 100-year-old think tank group that are often funded by powerful people and corporations that gives the government their marching orders. These are the folks that tell world leaders like Donald Trump and Joe Biden what to do. The fact that this think tank, as I just told you who's behind them, is sitting there writing what they call white papers or policy papers, they're the ones that give them their marching orders because that's what's going to benefit them. And these are the ones that keep these politicians coffers fat and give them side deals. So when they're out of office and this kind of stuff, and you find out that they got these big former Congress folks and stuff, got these big CEO jobs and all this other kind of stuff, that's because they make these connections with these folks. The article goes on to talk about how the Trump administration enacts transformative changes to how the United States engages with the world. U.S.-Africa relations stand at a critical juncture, providing a unique opportunity to redefine and reframe the relationship, the move away from traditional aid models, the redesign of American diplomacy. Listen to the language. The new approach to U.S. trade relationships and the clear alignment between America's leadership in artificial intelligence and digital technologies, along with Africa's collective desire to use technology as a development driver, will fundamentally alter the landscape engagement. Let me tell y'all something. That means they might be spying over there in the country. And not only that, this is to thwart and to prevent and frustrate and foil such alliances like BRICS and others. This is so that they can disrupt the President Isaias Afwerkis of Eritrea and the Traores and the Sahel members and others. This is to thwart that stuff so they have a good foothold in the country. And it's strategically located, these countries, for shipping and the minerals, yes, and the corporations and companies that want to do business there so they can continue to make money and obstruct relationships they may have with China and Russia and others. Are y'all catching this? The big reason I wanted to show you this policy paper from Carnegie Endowment, because most folks don't even know that organizations like that are the ones that are funded by corporations and powerful people that dictate to the government what to do. They're the ones that actually write a lot of the bills. They're the ones that's pushing us to war. And that's the reason why that's a bipartisan issue. So it didn't matter if Biden is in office or Trump. They still warfare. But these are the ones that are actually controlling a lot of what's going on around the world. This is the dirty little reason he only invited those particular 5 countries in the first place. Back quickly, I'm gonna moonlight between that article, and I'm gonna go back to this one. What did it say here in the North Africa Post? That's the article I'm reading from. The first article I was reading from. It says what? It says the decision to limit participation reflects a strategic realignment in U.S. foreign policy toward Africa, right? And I mentioned that earlier, emphasizing commercial diplomacy and targeted partnerships. It says that according to U.S. officials, the summit is part of a broader pivot away from traditional aid programs, as I mentioned before, toward trade, investment, and infrastructure cooperation. But family, what I wanted to emphasize to you is that why those 5 countries? Yes, the 5 invited nations were chosen for their economic openness, political stability, and alignment with U.S. commercial interest. These countries are seen as reliable partners for advancing American business and security goals in West and Central Africa. What the hell are they talking about? Security goals in West and Central Africa. How many of you all know I've done multiple broadcasts over the years exposing the fact that we had information based on information and belief and credible experts and information that was coming out to show that the United States and France and others were responsible for either creating and or funding the actual terrorism that's happened throughout the continent. And it seems, and this is why some of the African countries, when they kept telling America and the rest of them to get out, especially France and the rest of them, to get out, we don't need your help. Many of us accurately speculate that this is one of the reasons why they were so resistant to getting out, because they knew they were the ones that was behind it. Don't forget, some of these very African countries went before the UN to say that they had evidence to some of their members that were sitting on the Security Council, like France. They said they had evidence to prove that they were sponsoring terrorism. Beware, all these 5 countries. I'm sure they are. I hope they are. So if they already plan on having an African summit sometime in September, which that's murky the details, but I'm just saying they had already been announced. what the hell is going on next week? And why just those 5 countries? And why, after threatening the continent at large practically, and some of its most powerful countries through tariffs and other diabolical means, but all of a sudden, 5 minutes ago, you woke up and smelled the begonias and decided you want to do these special? No, baby, it's something that's going on. My name is Vicki Dillard, beloved, and I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on in the latest spiritual divine transmission that I'm going to give you for absolutely free Monday, July 14th. Go to my website to save your seat today. I'm going to be discussing what's really behind the wars over there in the Middle East with Netanyahu and his people in Iran. And I'm going to show you the connection to a dark ghost that's got everything to do with the melanated peoples of the world. And if you're thinking, well, that's over there in that country, you must be out of your mind. It's interconnected. And before you jump to such idiotic conclusions, come to my private webinar. Go to my website at Vicki